What a fantastic story that is. £4.3 million. That's it from today's Verified Live. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Hello there. It's been a pretty decent day up and down the country with plenty of sunshine around. However,
you can disinformation. The youth thinks you're winning on BBC News, fooling people in the most sophisticated ways.
Today we're looking at AI.
Well, initially people thought it was just sci-fi nonsense.
24/7.
Banking, medicine, education.
No matter how hard it gets.
Generative AI can now create art, music, even write his coursework.
Truth.
Yeah, so obviously I'm
Afraid about the impact on jobs, but
I wouldn't let a robot.
Tonight, Cy King gives his first TV interview since losing fellow Harry biker Dave Myers.
I exclusively sit down with England football legend Sir Geoff Hurst.
And actor Vanessa Williams are bringing The Devil Wears Prada to the West End.
See you at 7.
News at 6 o'clock with Sophie Raworth.
At 6, it can now be revealed that Chris Cabba, who was shot and killed by a Metropolitan Police officer, was a member of one of London's most dangerous gangs. A day after the police officer was cleared of his murder, the court allowed this footage to be seen of Chris Cabba, marked with a blue arrow, shooting a man in a nightclub. Also tonight, a man in his 60s dies and 15 others are taken to hospital after 2 trains crash at slow speed in mid-Wales. A fatal accident inquiry recommends an overhaul of the system for drivers over 80 after a child was killed by a 91-year-old woman who had dementia. And the King and Queen say farewell to Australia at the end of a 6-day tour, which wasn't all plain sailing.
Coming up on BBC News,
on
Arsenal's
BBC
last
London in
Champions
half
League
an
night
hour,
at the Emirates
almost
brought
as
a big
loud
win
as
over
a
PSG.
chainsaw.
They're back there
Warnings
tonight
of noise levels on the
with
tube.
Shakhtar Donetsk,
Experts
the
say
visitors.
some sections could damage hearing.
Good evening and welcome to the BBC News at 6. The Old Bailey has allowed CCTV to be made public, which appears to show Chris Cabba shooting a man in a nightclub days before he was shot and killed by police. It's only being published now, a day after the police officer who killed him was cleared of his murder, because the jury was not told any details of Chris Cabba's criminal past during the trial. But it can now be reported that he was also a core member of one of London's most dangerous gangs. Our UK correspondent Adina Campbell reports. Nick Eardley there. A man in his 60s has died and 15 others were taken to hospital after 2 passenger trains collided at slow speed in mid-Wales last night. Well, Hal Griffith is in Llanbryn Mawr for us in Powys and tell us more about what happened. And just to say, you can listen to the original BBC investigation in the podcast World of Secrets, the Abercrombie Guys, and you can find that on BBC Sounds. A fatal accident inquiry has recommended that the current system that allows drivers over the age of 70 to declare if they are fit and able to drive should be overhauled after the death of a 3-year-old boy in Edinburgh. Sander Irvine was hit by a car being driven by a 91-year-old woman who had undiagnosed dementia. The sheriff who oversaw the inquiry also said compulsory cognitive testing should be introduced as soon as possible for drivers over 80. Here's Katrina Renton. Steve Rosenberg, thank you. Government borrowing rose last month to £16.6 billion, in part because of increased wages and interest payments on public debt. The figure comes as the Chancellor Rachel Reeves prepares for next week's budget. She has already warned that she will have to make tough decisions on tax and public spending as she looks to fund a number of priorities. But earlier today, the International Monetary Fund raised its growth forecast for the UK economy, saying it is set to accelerate. Our chief economics correspondent Darshini David is here to look at what it all means. Darshini.
Sophie, thank you. Yes, this is a stark reminder of the challenges we face. Billions of pounds of public money are spent every month. For example, Sophie.
Dashini, thank you. The time is just after 6:15. Our top story this evening. New footage can now be shown of Chris Cabba marked with a blue arrow shooting a man in a nightclub days before he was killed. And coming up, these coins found by metal detectorists are thought to be the highest valued treasure hoard ever found.
Coming up on BBC News.
Also coming up, reaction in South London as a judge rules details of Chris Cabba's background in the days up to his killing can be reported.
We speak to one
And
disappointed
life
former
behind the
medalist
lens of a
about how
pioneering
hockey
female
should
sports
now fight
photographer.
back.
Glasgow has officially been confirmed as host of the next Commonwealth Games in 2026. The streamlined event will feature 10 sports and around 3,000 athletes. But sports such as rugby sevens, squash, hockey and cricket have all been axed as part of the deal to rescue the Games when the Australian state of Victoria withdrew as its host last year. Here's our sports editor, Dan Roan. Another wave of prisoners have been released early from jail to try to ease overcrowding in England and Wales. Just over 1,000 more inmates have been allowed out. This time it includes those serving sentences of 5 years or more. But offenders convicted of serious violence, sex crimes or terrorism are again excluded. The prison population in England and Wales has been growing by around 4,500 a year, much faster than available places. The current prison population in England and Wales is just under 87,500, with just over 1,600 spare places. Well, the government says this is the final early release of inmates and that the focus is now on building more prisons and reviewing sentencing policies. Well, Dominic Casciani, our home and legal correspondent, is with me. So this is the last wave, but there's still a big problem.
Yep.
Now, imagine this. A young woman spent around 7 hours trapped upside down, wedged between two boulders in Australia. You can just see her feet there. She fell while trying to retrieve her phone. Well, you can see her feet on that image and the way that she had been trapped between the rocks as she was hiking in Hunter Valley. Rescue teams had to remove some of the boulders, weighing up to around half a ton, to get her out. Paramedics said they had never encountered a job quite like it. Well, the young woman, who we don't actually have photographs of, suffered only minor scratches. Her phone, however, did not survive. A group of metal detectorists have uncovered more than 2,000 silver pennies in Somerset that date back to the time of the Norman conquest. It's the highest value hoard of treasure ever found in the UK. Ellie Price caught up with one of the friends who could not believe his luck. Let's have a look at the latest weather now with Thomas Schaffenegger. Hello.
Hello, Sophie. It'll be a bit of a gloomy start for some of us tomorrow morning. Some thick fog on the way, but I can promise you some sunshine come the afternoon as well. That fog might linger for a time, but the sun will be out. We could see that ridge of high pressure building in again, so fine weather will develop. So a bit of a blip, I think, through Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and then maybe later on Monday, the weather improving again. Back to you.
Thomas, thank you very much. That's it from us on the BBC News at 6. It is time now to join our colleagues for the news where you are. Goodbye.
Hello and welcome to BBC London. Coming up on the programme. As a court agrees, fresh details can be released about Chris Cabba. It's emerged he was a member of one of London's most dangerous gangs.
The Commonwealth Games has a future for now, but some of its sports do not. Glasgow steps in to host a slimmed-down event in 2026.
Almost as loud as a chainsaw, warnings over noise levels on the tube, which experts say could damage hearing.
Aston Villa and Arsenal take promising starts into round 3 of the Champions League, with the Emirates playing host to Shakhtar Donetsk.
We'll have the details.
And England picked 3 spinners for the third test against Pakistan, with Ryan Ahmed included in the team for the first time in the series. Hello again,
Good
welcome along
evening to you.
to
Thanks
Sports Day.
for
With
joining
under
us.
2
More
years to
now
go,
on the Chris
Glasgow
Cabot
has
case. As we
officially
know,
today
yesterday,
stepped
a
into
serving
the
Met
Commonwealth
firearms
Games
officer who
breach
shot the
after the
24-year-old
Australian
during
state
a
of
police
Victoria
stop
pulled
was
the plug on
cleared
their
of his
plans to
murder.
host the event
Today,
in
more details have
2026. It
emerged
is the
about
Scottish
Chris
city
Cabot's
that has been
background
awarded the
in the
chance
days
to
leading
take the
up to his
Commonwealths
death.
closer
A judge
to their
at the Old Bailey lifted
100-year
restrictions in the
anniversary.
case,
But
so it can now be
Glasgow's
reported
games
that he was
will
a
look very
core
different.
member of
A
one
lack
of London's
time
most
and money
dangerous
means
criminal
that the
gangs.
19
More on that in
sports
just a
on
moment.
offer